Live.
Hi guys, Gabe here, BigManComics.com. How are you doing today? Welcome in. Make sure you hit the like and share notification, all those great things. I am still sitting here illustrating away, working on the inks for the Unstoppable Tyrus. I'm also working on a secret project I can't tell you about, but it's a really good one. You'll see it later. It'll be like, I believe, a Christmas release. I'm doing just, I didn't write that one. It's some freelance illustration I'm doing. So that's a problem. That's actually what I'm working on today. But I will not show that yet because it's freelance work. It's not mine. A publisher who has wanted to work with me forever, for years. I was looking at my email. I have emails going back 3 years at least with this person trying to hire me, and they won me over with this concept. I really thought as owner, publisher, all that of Big Man Comics, I didn't know if I would ever really freelance for anyone again. But this one I couldn't turn down because it was so intriguing, and it was just right up my alley for the kind of things I want to make. So that's a fun one. It's a smaller job, so it's not going to delay Empyrean or Tyrus or anything like that as far as when they come out. Speaking of that, I got a notification from UPS. What is UPS stand? Is that like United Parcel Service or something like that? The brown trucks. They got my proof copies of Empyrean on the way. So those, it said between 11 and 3, it should be here. So that could be during the show. If it comes in during the show, which I'm hoping, I'll definitely go get it and show it to you guys. I'll run out to the front and show it to you guys. And we can see together these proof copies. We can see what they look like together. So yeah, make sure, and I need your help, everyone watching this. I need your help to grow this. As YouTube is, they push back on live streams because they want the advertisements of recorded videos. I don't want to do recorded videos. I want to do live streams, and it won't happen without you guys. You have to tune in. You have to tell your friends to tune in, get more people to come here. You have to be subscribed, hit the like, super chats, all that stuff. Yes, super chats benefit me financially, sure. Like YouTube wants that too from the live streams. You know what I mean? So I need you. I'm just asking directly. I need you on that stuff. So welcome in, everyone. And here comes my assistant. She can let me know what's going on in the chat. Because I'm not looking at the chat. I'm looking at this drawing in front of me of our pal Iris being unstoppable. So
The mob seat says, hope the UPS box shows up soon.
yeah, I hope it shows up during the show. That'd be a fun live thing to show you guys. So
I'm so glad to hear that it's showing up today because we've been on the phone a lot with those guys trying to navigate getting it here, and so I'm very pleased it's coming
yeah,
today.
we have some potential business partners who want to show it to this week, and the people that printed it and we're going to ship it and all that, like, yeah, it'll get there by the day you need. And then like the email was like, nah, maybe not, maybe it'll get there after you need it. It's like that time you ordered your Halloween costume on Amazon and it got to our house the day after Halloween. So does you no good. But yeah, we got I got the email from UPS saying it's on a truck for delivery. So good, because we don't need it till Friday, and there was a possibility that it wouldn't come in time to show these potential client people. So
right.
But yeah, that'll be really fun to show to you guys on the air because I haven't seen it yet. Obviously, this really printed version of Empyrean, and I'm excited to see it. You work on these things so long. I was talking to Akion about this stuff. I wanted to come to Comic-Con and all this stuff. And he says he loves working for me. He loves working on all this stuff. He says, but sometimes it doesn't feel real because he hasn't met the fans. He's all the way over in France. He hasn't been to a convention and autograph. So I'm trying to convince him to come to San Diego. There's some challenges for him to do that, but I want him to come to San Diego Comic-Con. But yeah, he said there's a dimension of it that doesn't feel real because you're just in your studio. You're writing, you're drawing, you're coloring. And then like if you never, I sent him a box of books, but that's it. That's his only like real world thing with Dean Cain. Sent him a box of like 10 or 20 issues, 10 or 20 copies of it, and that's it though. There's no meet and greet the fans and autograph meet and Dean. He's never met Dean, and never met the fans and given an autograph and all that because he's all the way in France, and it'll be nice to see these books when they get here from UPS today because then that makes it more and more real. I remember when Eric July got the first printed copies of Iceland delivered to him there in Texas. I remember I texted him. I said, "Hey, congratulations! You're officially a comic book maker, comic book creator." I hate that terminology, comic book creator, but it is the parlance for our business. I do hate it though. It's very inaccurate. I like, you can ask my wife, if you ask someone who knows me, I always say words have meanings and we don't need to use words incorrectly. And like, we are not creators. Creation is the domain, the purview of one being, only God. He creates, like what that word means. We don't create anything as artists. We manipulate things, we move them around, we rearrange them. We don't create anything. But regardless, that's me being pedantic. We're comic book creators. Okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, it was nice to congratulate Eric and tell him, hey, you're officially a comic book creator. So it's nice and real when you get that stuff. It makes it really real. So
Remdog says, hey.
hey, saw you last night.
And Ungoy Boy says, I'm here. Happy hump day.
Yeah, it is Wednesday, isn't it?
Yep. And the mob seat says that Gabe is drawing Queen Victoria's throne.
Queen Victoria's throne.
Because I think you were working on a throne there.
This is a person. Unless Queen Victoria sits on Tyrus. I didn't write that into the book. It's not that kind of party.
Let's see. There was a question here. So we've got two questions. The mob seat says, hi, Gabe. When you ink, do you alter your technique based on the colors that will be applied later?
No. My service when I ink is to the clear storytelling and layout of the page. I'm not worried about the coloring insofar as changing the way I ink. The inks are going to be determined by the style of drawing, if it's a Disney cartoon style, if it's a 90s image comic style, if it's modern comic style. But to be honest with you, I don't think about that too much for a lot of the superhero stuff. It's pretty much by feel. I mean, I've been drawing, I'm 46. I don't remember when I started drawing. So I just kind of ink like, yeah, this feels right. I don't have an expectation of, oh, I need to ink it like this or I need to ink it like that. Like, it's just, I ink. Like, I don't know. It's just, this is how it should look is what my brain tells me. And, I think enough years of experience, like, I have very good instincts on stuff. So it's got to be, a lot of clarity and a lot of good storytelling and dynamicism. It'll get you where you need to go.
And I think, and this is just my observation from your work over the years, I think that the penciler doesn't really pencil based on how the inks are going to look. The inker doesn't really ink based on how the colors are going to look, because everybody's following the person ahead of them. Like, this is the right way to ink for this drawing. This is the right colors for this inked artwork.
Yeah, it's got to go in that order. Yeah, I can't worry about, oh, I gotta do this for the colorist as I draw it. Like, no, he's got to worry about me if I'm the one drawing it. There is that totem pole kind of, order of operations. Like, they have to, because it's, another word for inking is embellishing. So they're taking what I do. Like, if I pencil, then as the inker, I have to agree with the pencils. And then as the colorist, I have to agree with the inks and so on and so forth. So it's kind of the opposite of what you were asking, where the next phase in the assembly line thinks about the previous one. The previous one doesn't think about the next one. That would not be wise. I don't think that would work very well. So,
in regards to Queen Victoria's chair, throne, it's the seat you're sitting on. Gabe's chair looks like a throne.
It's the Queen Anne. You were close. It's Queen Anne. This is Queen Anne style furniture.
Right. Yeah. And who sits in the matching chair?
My dog. My dog has the same chair in the living room. We had two of these. It went with the Queen Anne couch.
So Jean Parmesan has the other one.
Yeah.
Remdog has a question for you. Also, technical question. How tight do you like your layouts when you have someone else drawing them?
The looser, the better, because the whole point of getting layouts from my friend is to learn to draw better. So I want just enough from the layout to give me aha moments, like, that's why you think that way. But I don't want to trace his work, right? So that's the line. And we talk about that. Because again, it's an intentional, ongoing process between me and Aekion of him being my mentor. I've been drawing forever. I'm a professional quality illustrator. I want to be better. I want to get better every day until I die. And, he's a great illustrator. and he knows some things I don't know and has figured some stuff out. So yeah, I lean on him for lay some stuff out for me, and then when I go to do it, I'm like, oh, and it's really great. And that used to be the norm in the arts, and there's just a weird arrogance, at least in the Western, in American comic book culture. There's a weird, I'll do everything myself, I'll figure out everything myself, and it's like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to build a car from scratch when I could just go to the dealership and buy one. It seems like a waste of time. So if someone can teach you things, then I don't know why you wouldn't take advantage of it. But hey, to each their own. Yeah, to me, I'm a constant student. I want to always be learning. So
The mob seat said, thanks for the answer. Charles Schultz used to crosshatch things pretty heavy, and when the colors were later applied, it looked way too dark.
yeah, that could have to do with the printing and the printing quality and stuff like that. That was, he was working in ink and color in a more primitive time before we have the things we could do with trapping and all that. And it's very technical stuff about the way the offset printer works. But you can set all this stuff up in Photoshop and InDesign now to give yourself clarity in the printing. If you've ever looked at a piece of printed material and you see the black part of the drawing, not the color part, but the actual illustration, and you notice these little white lines right next to the black, that's what I'm talking about there. And that was a lot harder to take care of in the old days. If you imagine four big pieces of metal the size of a comic book page, right? And they use acid to etch them, right? This is lithography, this is offset printing and all this. And then they put cyan, magenta, yellow, black. They put a different color ink on each piece of metal, and then it strikes the paper with the yellow, strikes the paper with the blue, strikes the paper with the pink, magenta, strikes the paper with the black, right? Some of these lines are thinner than a millimeter. So what are the odds of this piece of metal hitting exactly right every time? And if it's just off, then there'll be a gap between some of the black line art of your drawing of Spider-Man and some of the red color in his uniform, and you'll get these little white halos everywhere. The way to combat that is there's no empty space. There's a fifth thing, a trap, and it's this like neutral purplish gray, and it's printed underneath your black lines. So when the black lines miss and the color they miss by that fraction of a millimeter, that little neutral gray is in there and you can't really see it. It blends into everything. So, and that's a thing that's hard to set up by hand. But now that we have Photoshop, we have Adobe InDesign, we have these programs that takes care of that stuff. And see, this is I thank God for the history I've had as an artist. What I wanted as a kid was to become a professional comic artist when I was 14. Well, I took a much longer route, but eventually Jim Lee himself hired me. But it was good that I took a longer route because I ended up working at different newspapers, the college newspaper, the city newspaper, and I learned all kinds of things about how publishing works, how the printing presses work. I remember I was hired at the city newspaper to be an editorial illustrator and cartoonist, and I colored my first piece, and it was about bears on the loose in the mountains of Colorado. I threw a guy inside like a lodge, and he's looking out the window, and he's worried about this bear outside. But red's my favorite color, so I colored his shirt red. It was really a really deep bright red in Photoshop. And when the newspaper printed it was orange, his shirt. And it didn't ruin the drawing. I was the only one who knew it was supposed to be red and not orange. But it taught me about the gamut of colors and how that works and how what you see on the screen is not necessarily what's going to print, because a glowing set of pixels is not the same as a piece of newsprint with CMYK ink on it. So I've been doing this long enough that I know exactly how something is going to print, looking at it on a computer screen. I know exactly. And I've been that way for at least a decade, if not longer. I've been doing this so long, I can just, because some people, they mistakenly in Photoshop, they're like, oh, you need to turn on CMYK mode and color and see. Horrible idea. Color in RGB, which is the not real colors of a newspaper or a magazine, but you've trained your mind enough to know what you're looking at. And the reason you color in RGB in Photoshop is it has the full range of effects and brushes and pens and filters are available. In CMYK, it's very limited. And this is going to sound wrong, but it's true. There are colors you can get in RGB that you can also put in the CMYK that you cannot get in CMYK in the first place to then even print. Does that make sense? There's a richness of color that you can get from RGB modality on Photoshop that you just can't get in CMYK. It's like there's CMYK colors in RGB for some reason that are not in CMYK. I know this is all very confusing. Basically, don't use CMYK to color. Use RGB mode, and then you can hit Apple on a Mac. It's the command button. It used to have an Apple symbol. Apple Y. If you hit that, you can toggle on and off a CMYK preview. And then your computer screen will switch back and forth, showing you digital colors, print colors, digital colors, and you just switch back and forth if you don't have the eye for it like I do quite yet. But if you do this long enough, you'll develop an eye for it. You'll be able to see it just without having to toggle back and forth.
The mob seat sent, I don't know how to show this, but it says the mob seat sent a super sticker.
What you would have to do is open another window in Chrome, go to my YouTube, go to this live stream, go to the chat box on the right side of the live stream, and drag that chat box onto the screen and share the screen. Not very hard, but that's what you have to do. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I'll try it right now.
Okay. Don't dox me. Please don't show my email or anything on the screen.
But in the meantime,
be very careful what you're doing.
Does it have to be Chrome or can it be Safari?
It would just be easiest because you're already in Chrome.
Oh, okay.
And just how you showed Twitter on the screen the other day.
Yes.
Just do that, and it's floating in the chat. You know, there'll be a little like cartoon animal usually or something when people buy those stickers.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to thank him.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your booty. Shake your booty.
Are under your elbow in the middle of the desk. Push the button all the way on the left on it. Under you. It's in the middle. I said under your elbow.
Oh, this.
All the way to the left. There's a tiny circle button. Up. All the way to the left.
This little button?
All the way to the left.
Okay.
Click it.
I did.
Okay. Speakers will turn on in about 30 seconds.
Okay. Let me.
I have the sound on. But
Let me
they
try
hear everything. You couldn't hear it, but they could hear it. Everything. So don't worry about it.
Oh, never mind.
It was just our internal speakers weren't on for you to hear.
All right. Diane Francis says, good morning, everyone.
Guten Morgen. Is that German or is that made up?
I believe that is German.
What do we say in Espanol?
Buenos dias.
I thought that was like good day, not good morning.
Uh,
That's Spanish, though. They'll use one word for 80 things.
you would just say buenos dias.
Right. Because why have morning and day? Why have both?
Remdog says, I've colored in Pantone.
Pantone? PMS colors? That's weird. It's not bad. That's just weird. But if you want ultra accuracy, then PMS colors is the best. But that's a strange way to do it.
And the mob seat says, imagine inking entire comics with a fountain pen and India ink like they did for years. Yikes.
It's no big deal. Most of the stuff I've ever inked was inked by hand with brushes and pens, man.
I think it seems a lot harder because it's obviously you can't erase. So then there's all the white out.
Well, the thing about what I'm doing now, digitally on an iPad, you can't really do this the way I'm doing it if you didn't really ink on paper. I mean, I'm sure there's young kids that do everything digital, but the problem with doing everything digital is you're missing why any of these digital tools do what they do. Because these digital tools, they're modeled on real life tools, right? They're trying to approximate a real pen, a real brush, and this and that. And if you don't have the experience in your mind of using those things, you're missing out. Like, why is this thing doing what it's doing? And that's such an important part of doing anything, is like the why. Everyone's always interested in what, but for some reason people are not interested in why, and that's such an important part of anything you do. And it's much harder to grasp and understand, but if you understand why, that really helps you. So my advice for everyone, you have to learn digital because it's the world we live in. You should master analog, though. Analog being the real life tools. You really should master those, so. I never drew a digital comic until 3 years ago. And I don't like it. I want to do all on paper. I like it for the ease and the speed. And that's just where my business is right now. I need to get some stuff done so I can get it out and start raising more funds. But when I have more time, more money, I think I'll just go back to paper, pen, and ink and all that, because I want there to be a piece of art when I'm done. I want something I can frame, something I can give to my kids and grandkids. Like, I want this to exist. I don't want it to just be a file. I was saying on this stream a week or two ago, can you imagine going to the museum and they don't have any paintings? They just have big LCD screens up. right?
Right.
Terrible.
That'd be awful.
Right?
Okay, I'm sharing. I don't know how to do.
You don't know how to share a
Look.
screen?
I shared that
Right.
to show.
If
So it's
everyone can see it.
you with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
So there it is.
Oh, now it's another one within it. I don't know what's going
I don't
on.
know what you're doing, but just take it off the screen eventually.
Yeah, I took it off.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. What was it? I couldn't see it from here clearly.
It's
Is that one of those little boxes or something like that?
hold on. I'm gonna have to go to it because I don't have my glasses. It's a little looks like a chicken giving you a cup of coffee.
All right. Well, thank you, Coffee Chicken.
And that was from the mob seat.
Thank you, Mr. Mopsy. Mr. Mopsy's a rocker. He's got a rock band, I believe, called the Mopsy.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
In regards to inking on paper, Ramdog says you can sell originals.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't know how people do that. Almost everyone sells their originals. I can't part with mine. They're too personal. They mean too much. I don't care what you are. Like Jim Lee, like I'll see his stuff, the most legendary, beautiful, like X-Men covers, and he sells them. Why would you sell it? You're already a millionaire. I don't get it, man. I don't get it at all. I would sell a commission if someone said, I want you to draw this for me. Then it's not like a personal piece that, for me, it was something that was specifically made to sell. But if I'm dreaming of working at Marvel my whole life, and then I get to do X-Men covers that are the most legendary that fans love, you could never get me to sell that. I don't. Everyone does it. I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't do that. You couldn't get me to sell this stuff. No way. I don't care what you offered me. I can always make more money. I don't need money for my drawings. I don't know how people part with them. I don't know.
The mob seat says maybe do an old school physical inking stream sometime.
Yeah, I think I've done that, but that'd be fun. I have a camera over my real like analog drawing desk. I do have a camera on that. So, yeah, I need to do a new cover for the Tyrus comic for myself that I illustrate. My buddy illustrated 2 covers, but I need to illustrate my own. And I think I'll try and do that one analog, do that one with real pen and ink and all that. But one thing I love about digital is it helps speed everything up. And even if you're drawing something by hand, you can draw it digitally first to lay it out, quickly do perspective and buildings and all that. And you get a lot of iterations, and you can make mistakes, and you can do a lot of quick thinking about, oh, what about this? What about this? And then print it out on a printer in light blue ink on the printer so it doesn't photocopy. And then ink that. I've done that, in the past. So.
The Mopsy asks, how do you store all your old comic art?
How do I store it?
Mm-hmm.
In shelves, in cabinets. That's all you do. There's a thing that some artists have that I've wanted for years. It's called a flat file. It's a piece of furniture. And just imagine it's a big old cabinet, but the drawers are only this tall. So the drawers are like 3 inches tall. So you pull it out and you stick paintings and drawings in there. So it's got 15, 20 drawers on one shelf because they're such short little drawers. But yes, it's called a flat file, and it's for like illustrators and painters and all that. They've sold those for decades. I don't have one, but I would like to have one. But I'm doing some remodel / addition, whatever, on my house, and I don't want that piece of furniture till I have more room in my house for it. So I suppose I could put it in this studio, but I'd have to get rid of some other stuff. So, but yeah, flat file. If you just Google that, you'll see what it looks like. But it's very simple. It's what I said. It's a cabinet with really short drawers.
The Mopsy said like a blueprint desk.
Yeah, probably the exact same sort of thing. I haven't seen a blueprint desk, but yeah, it's probably just like that. I can imagine what a blueprint desk would be, because you don't want a drawer full of drawings to be deep, right? You don't want a stack of 500 papers you have to dig through. So it's only deep enough to just put a few drawings in each thing, but it's very wide to put a few stacks of drawings in each drawer. So we had them in college. They were there to store some of your stuff in. That's the first time I saw one. One of my professors had one in his office, and I thought, oh, this is great. I never thought of this. That was Seeger. He was a real artist.
I think I've seen them, but and I think it does make sense if you're filing
Right.
this size of paper.
Well, yeah, you just don't want a deep stack of paper because then you got to dig through it to find anything. That's just not convenient.
Ramdog, back when you guys were talking about the different ways to color, he said he worked digital on an Intuos 3 tablet for years, went back to analog.
Yeah, I had an Intuos tablet. I think I had an Intuos 3. And I worked on that at Wildstorm to color for DC Comics. And then they bought us all the Cintiq 21s. And I didn't use my Cintiq for months when they bought it for me. The Cintiq was the screen I would look at, but I would still use the Intuos 3 because that's what I was used to. Then one day I would take the Intuos home sometimes to use it on my home computer for other artwork, and I forgot it. So I went to Wildstorm one day and I just didn't have it, so I had to start using the Cintiq, and I never looked back. And the Cintiqs are great. There's a Huion, is a Chinese brand that's much cheaper, and I wonder if they're as good. My buddy Blonde had it. He said it works quite well. So and it's way cheaper. Huion, I don't know. So no idea.
When you're inking these pages, do you have specific things that you're inking that you like inking more than other drawings?
One thing I don't like inking is tedious stuff. Nobody likes it. When you're inking a building with a bunch of windows and a bunch of perspective going on, the molding and the railing and this shape and that shape, and it's easy to do, but it's too easy. So it's like I've had boring jobs working in a warehouse, working this, and just stacking boxes for 8 hours. When you start having to ink really technical things like that and that are perspective, it just kind of feels like that. It feels like, okay, another window, another crossbar, another stair step. I don't like that. I love organic stuff. I love the hair, the muscles. I mean, all that stuff. That's really fun to work on. You get some really good brush strokes, but the very technical stuff is not as fun. So
I think hair is one of the most beautiful things you do. Your hair just really stands out to me when you're drawing it or
everyone's got hair
inking
on
it.
their head pretty much, so you got to get it right. Except for Lex Luthor, I guess.
And is there inking that is harder, that some drawings harder than others? There's got to be, but for you, what is it?
No, none of it's harder. Like when people ask that, can you draw? I've told you this for years. Can you draw a horse? Can you draw a motorcycle? Like, dude, it's all spheres, cones, cubes, like footballs. That's all anything is. Like nothing is harder to draw than anything else. Just some things are more tedious and they're just gonna take longer. But if you can draw, you can draw. And all you're doing is drawing blobs in space and shading them. That's all you're doing. Everything is basically a football, like a blob. It's just kind of like an ovoid, some sort of ovoid shape, spheroid shape. That's basically everything you're doing. So it looks like a magic trick, but it's not. It really is. And there are not things that are harder to do. Like I said, they're just things that are, and I bet it depends on your personality. I bet you some people, they really love doing like buildings and all that. And sometimes I've had fun doing buildings and technical things because it is so precise and repetitive. There is an aspect to it that's a little zen, like you can kind of relax and let go. And it is satisfying to watch the pattern come to life. I could say that for technical stuff. But when you have to, like in real life drawing, you have to get out the ruler and you're like, it is kind of relaxing, but after a while, it's kind of boring. It's just like, oh my gosh. And it is fun, some of the stuff I'm working on, there's so many characters and so many things and, superhero magic or whatever powers. And I'm drawing all these characters, all these things. And once in a while, I'm like, who the hell wrote this? And it's always me. I wrote this. So, it's easy when you're writing it. And then you're having to deliver on what you wrote. And that's, wow. Sometimes that's a lot more of a challenge than writing. It's always more of a challenge to write. Writing is easier than drawing, I think. I know it's easier. There's been that ongoing war between comic book artists and writers. Like they both like seem to have a chip on their shoulder and they argue who's more important. Who's more important? I will tell you, as someone who is a professional illustrator and a professional award-winning writer, the drawings are more important than the writing. The writing is super important, but I would put it at 49-51 because the comic book is about the drawings. That's what it's about. That's what makes it a comic book. Drawings, it's just a regular novel. There's nothing wrong with that. I love to read regular novels. But as far as the war between the writers and artists go, it's the artists. That's why these are comics. They're about the drawings. You know, like with a shitty story, nobody wants to read a comic book with a crappy story, of course. But I would buy a comic book with a mediocre story and world-class art more than I would buy one with a great story and garbage art. I don't want to look at that. It's like looking in a trash can. No thanks. You know? It's like, I don't know, unattractive person with a great personality, right? Too bad for them. A lot of people aren't going to get to know. Sucks. That's the way it is. You know, but, you know, as someone who started off drawing before I was a writer, I'm biased in that regard. I understand that. I'm not dishonest about it. I know that I'm biased, that I prefer the drawing over the writing. But when you say you prefer it, people think that means you don't care about the writing. Of course I care about it. I don't want to buy comics that are poorly written. I want to read books that are poorly written. I don't want to watch movies that are poorly written. But this is a visual medium, first and foremost. It is.
Right. And you can tell a story with just the art
You can't-
and take the, you know, if you didn't have the writing. But like you said, if it's just writing and no artwork, then it just becomes a novel
it's a regular old book.
or a regular book. Yeah.
It's kind of like a hamburger. You need good pickles, good ketchup, mustard. You need a good bun. You need good cheese. You need good bacon. But the meat is the burger. That you can eat just a meat patty by itself with some salt and say, I had a hamburger for lunch. You cannot eat a bun and say, I had a hamburger for lunch.
Right.
And that's how comics work. The comics are the drawing. That is the comic book. The writing is 49%, but the drawing is 51%. So.
The mob seat said, I've seen comic artists who draw great, except they can't do clouds or kids.
Oh my gosh, kids is like the bane of so many people. But I'm telling you, someone who works as a comic artist is a great illustrator, right? They just are. They can figure the kids out. I think the thing with kids, they don't come up often in comics. So you're just not practiced in like what you need to do there. So you don't have it in your memory bank of like, oh, okay, here's the proportion, here's the anatomy. But like I said, if you can draw, you can draw. And if the people that, man, I'm thinking of some people that are outstanding, famous comic artists, and they draw the most brutal looking kids, dude. Most ugly, weird kids. They're like little squatty adults. It's like, wow. And they're so good at drawing everything else. But those people that do that, they could draw excellent children if they just put a week into it. They said, okay, no work, 1 week, I'm going to draw kids. Maybe in like 2-3 days, they would come up with their visual language, their system for it. But what I see so many doing is they're like taking a superhero body and like squishing it down and giving it a big head. And it's like, that's not working. That looks weird, that kid. So.
What about your favorite drawing of kids on the 5 freeway in Los Angeles?
Hard to explain. People kind of see it, but so much public art, in my opinion, is a scam. Now, we know what Elon Musk revealed, what we all were suspecting with USAID and things like that. And I think all governments everywhere have so much grift going on. It's like, hey, I'm the mayor. I'm going to hire my brother to put in the stoplights. Stoplights should be $50,000 per intersection. My brother only charges $1 million. So I'm going to have my brother do it. I think that's how the government basically works. When you get to, well, you know where the peaceful protests in LA are right now, those bridges, there's some near there. There's some horrific paintings of children playing basketball, jump rope, and they're little kids, they're toddlers, 3, 4, 5. These kids look like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because whoever did it, their uncle was the mayor. I'm making this up. I'm alleging this. Their uncle was in charge of the budget. They gave the guy the job, and he can't draw. So he traced photos, and if I trace a photo, or any professional artist, comic book illustrator, if we trace a photo, you will not know. Because we have professional technique and good art skills, and we're like, oh, I can do, and then I manipulate the photo in the final drawing. I manipulate, people will trace vehicles and buildings to save time. I don't have a problem with that. I don't do it myself out of some weird ego thing, but I'm fine with people doing it. I see, and they've been doing it for decades. Back in the 60s, they would Xerox like New York City skyline and just like contrast it out so you don't have to draw all those buildings. Remember what I was saying earlier about drawing all those windows? Anyway, whoever this guy is in LA, do these horrific things in these kids, and they're huge. There are these freeway walls where you go into these bridges, and these kids are like 10 feet tall a piece or something, and they're like they're melting and they're ugly. Tried to be photorealistic, but didn't have the skills. And thankfully, some vandals graffitied over them. So the kids are no longer there suffering as the hobgoblin looking children that they.
Excuse me.
But we would drive by them on our way up to Hollywood and stuff. My wife and I were like, gosh damn, these kids are ugly.
One of the worst parts, though, were the what do they call the marionette lines on the face?
It's a nasolabial fold is the line from the corner of your nose to the corner of your mouth. If you want someone to look old, make that line. That's how
deep and dark.
Yeah, make it deep. Do not put that line on women. Do not put that line on children. You can only put that line on them when they are smiling huge. Don't put it on.
Or they're
I know
80.
it's there in real life. Don't do it in a drawing. Don't. Do not do that.
Yeah, so these kids had those nasolabial folds really darkened and emphasized, so then they looked like old toddlers also.
Yeah. What's that disease where kids age rapid, like progeria, I think it's called? It's a horrible, fatal disease that these poor kids at these paintings look like. It was just the worst.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. So that's, I think that's that grift of government where, people are just always hiring their unqualified cousin or whatever and ripping off the taxpayer.
The mob seat said they trace a photo and outline each tooth with a thick black line.
Right. Right.
That's funny.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, those drawings.
Well, that's the hallmark
awful.
of being a bad draftsman. Is too much detail. There's a great writer, I forgot who it was, but his quote about writing was, take out all the parts people don't read. In drawing, less is more. The bard, Shakespeare himself said, brevity is the soul of wit. That applies to all art forms of communication. So when you see an artist leaning on like insane detail, that means they have a weak spot for really knowing what they're talking about. And they're just like, yeah, detail. Remember the 90s? All the scratchy and endless ammo, belts and pouches and things sticking off the head and headbands and gloves and shoulder pads. Right. Because they didn't have the fundamentals correct. So when I see over detailed illustrations and it's not, the sum is less than, the sum of all these parts is not working. It's just, the whole concept of like, you're missing the forest for the trees. Drawings are supposed to be that way. You should know it's a character when I zoom out. They should have a silhouette that's distinct. The Tyrus character, I know him when you draw him tiny. I know the friend, Cindy, when you draw her tiny. I know who they are. If you need all the details, your drawing skills are weak. Details are great. They're fun. They're important. But there's a context to it. And if you have to lean on that to get your stuff done, you need to learn more. You don't really know what you're doing. And that goes for writing. That goes for any art form, And that whole adding superfluous details, it's leaning on it like a crutch. It's really weak stuff. It's amateur, to be honest with you. That's the mark of an amateur.
Yeah, I think people try and make up for it.
Right. They're trying to make up for they don't understand the basic composition of body language. So, and it's also, okay, here's the thing from when you're young. So you're 15 and you're drawing and you're showing people your drawings, you're getting praise. That's good for your ego, blah, blah, blah. You feel great, you're getting praise. But laymen who don't understand drawing, they always say the same thing about drawing because they don't know what they're looking at. They say, wow, look at all the detail. How long did that take you? And when you're young, you're like, oh, I get a lot of feedback on detail. So another thing you see when people are like overly detailed drawings, it's they don't know what they're doing to sum it up in less lines, and it's insecurity. They want that praise for the detail. You should never make art for other people, ever. I should never make one line on this paper. I hope the mob seat tells me there's a lot of detail. That's not what you're doing here. It's self-expression. This artwork is about me. And if I'm good at it, you'll like it and it'll be good for you. You know, but it's not about, oh man, I better draw this so they praise me. I hope they pat me on the head. That is the most insincere, phony bullshit as an artist. You're not being honest when you do that. You're just trying to take from people like a little emotional vampire. That's not right. That's not the point of making art.
Ramdog said something that you,
Well,
or
Red
maybe
Dog's an illustrator.
maybe you said this, but it says my nephew is an art student in regards to hiring
No?
people. But you always say that about bad menus, about bad signs, about bad logos. You said, oh,
When
their
we go-
cousin did it.
Yeah.
Or their
My friend TJ and I in college, we made up this joke about horrible looking art. We go to like a family owned restaurant and the the menu's sticky and it's ugly. They have weird, like not color balanced photos. The food doesn't look good on it. The font and the typeface, the script is all over the place. You can't read the menu very well. The design is bizarre of the menu. My friend TJ and I came up with a concept of that called My Brother Did This.
right.
So it's like you got a family owned restaurant, you need a menu, and your budget is $40. So you get your cousin to do it for $40 and it looks like it. You know, like spend. You got to spend on art. I have so many people ask me, I'm working on a comic. I'm a writer. I need to find an artist. I have to get back to that guy. He was in the chat last week. And how do I do it? And I always tell them it's going to be very expensive if you want it to look any good. Very expensive. You know, if like what I charge now per page for my company to make comics, it's a lot. It's a lot of money, and I'm worth every penny. So if you think you're gonna, because I had someone say, I think it was a guy in the chat last week that someone was offering him $300 pencil ink and color. That's bad. That's not gonna look good. It could. I could be wrong, but the odds are that's not gonna look good at all. And one of the most powerful things that has changed in illustration and comic book and publishing is color, because of Photoshop and all those digital tools we have. And a lot of colorists, it's like giving the keys to a Ferrari to a 12-year-old. It's ultra powerful, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And I see big stuff come out. Big stuff, a lot of fanfare, should sell well, should be this, should be that. And you look at the color, and the color butchers the drawing, destroys it, destroys the composition. The composition means the general layout of the page, destroys the depth, destroys any detail that you want to have, and the color, it's just like, so the color is so powerful that it's so easy to mess it up. And again, that's why I say people need to learn in the analog world. I learned to color by coloring model airplanes and Warhammer 40,000 miniature orcs and space marines. That's real life with real paintbrushes, thinking in 3D about bodies and vehicles and weapons and shapes in color. That's where I learned to color. When I was a boy, I colored a bunch of that stuff. So again, it's all you can learn digitally and never pick up a real pencil or paintbrush, but you're shortchanging yourself. You really should learn in the real world how to do all this first, or concurrently. You can do it at the same time, I guess, if that's all your schedule allows.
You'll like this because this happens to you too, Gabe. Ramdog 1138 says, I always get requests for tattoo designs.
Yeah, I get that forever. And I did a tattoo, as my wife knows.
Does she?
Yeah. When I was in high school, a girl that kind of fancied me had me draw some kissing dolphins. It was like 2 dolphins in a heart shape. Don't know if she ever got it. So what are you staring at me for?
Let's move on.
Oh, 30 years ago.
You do
I'm having
have.
lunch for tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Just hit me up on Facebook.
Goy Boy says, what are your favorite comic book artists, past and present?
Alan
Or
Davis.
who? Sorry, not what.
Alan, yeah, what are they? They're people. They're human. Alan Davis, Jim Lee, Arthur Adams, J. Scott Campbell, Nestor Redondo, Hughes. There's a bunch. There's a bunch that are just outstanding. I mean, there's so many good ones through the years, but those come to mind right away. Those people.
What about your favorite writers?
My favorite writers, my favorite comic writer, he hasn't worked a lot because he got like Me Too or whatever, and I'm not going to comment on whether I think it's real or not. I just know that whatever. I'm not talking about that. Well, Warren Ellis, the guy that wrote Planetary, that was one of the greatest comic books ever made. And Warren Ellis is just one of those guys that had like just this insane imagination, and he was so good at that Twilight Zone, X-Files concept of the monster of the week. I love that serial pulp fiction-y kind of thing where it's the same characters, the same universe, and they have a new, crazy, interesting challenge to deal with every week. You know, I thought that Planetary was great that way. So I think, yeah, Warren Ellis was my favorite. He doesn't work a lot because he had some problems. So,
but his stuff is iconic.
It's fantastic. I think I just read that he's got some new stuff coming. And then some cancel people were really mad about it. Not talking about Warren Ellis, but just talking about cancel people. I always am certain they have nothing going on in their life. They're just mad that someone else does. So they want to make sure that the person that they envy completely is taken down. I think that's a lot of motivation for the cancel culture. I think that is the primary motivation. Whether someone did something or not, I know, let's just be honest. That's why people like to cancel. They don't really have a sense of justice or care about what may or may not happen. They're mad that someone else is getting paid and getting famous.
I feel like people don't quite understand the gravity of doing something like that because they're literally ruining people's lives. And then they're just, at the movies the next day.
Right.
And
just still being a loser, an unachieving loser the next day. No, like in general, like fuck cancel people forever. They're losers, and I hope they enjoy being a loser because that's all
just because this didn't happen when we were young, I know social media didn't exist like when we were young, but people didn't do that. I mean,
girls do. This is feminine behavior. Canceling, that's the burn book. Where you write all the nasty things and you publish them in the girls' bathroom or whatever. You ostracize and gossip about women. This is nothing new, canceling. It's just individual age, but it's absolutely female behavior.
But girl. Writing stuff on the bathroom wall is not going to make someone lose their livelihood.
But here's the thing. It isn't, but it was as the intention was the same. It was as much as they could do. They would have done more if they could have, but it's all they could do at any given time. As defaming in the high school bathroom. If they could have gone on Facebook or Instagram and ruined them, they would have because they do. So men need to stop acting like bitchy high school girls and not participate in this. And none of us should take cancelers seriously. Just always tell them to fuck off.
Right.
Cancelers they're horrible, weak, disgusting people.
Like I said, I don't think people really think about what the consequences are of that because I think if you really thought about it, how could you do that?
I don't know. This is how these resentful communists are.
Because not liking someone's one thing, but making it so they can't pay their bills.
Yeah, but resentment is nasty. What is resentment? Resentment is the concept of wanting to destroy someone's life or at least what they have because you don't have it. That's what resentment always boils down to. The foundation of communism is take the powerful and the successful and the beautiful and destroy them because they're not those things and they hate that someone else is. It's grievance culture, and it's entitlement culture. Someone has something, so what? You should have it and you should take it from them. And if you can't take it, you should destroy theirs. Fuck you.
Right.
And I'm glad we live in a culture now where we just tell counselors to fuck off now. We just laugh at them, tell them to get lost. Scram, loser.
I agree, because I think if you run and hide, you give that person power.
Oh, yeah, and you should never apologize to the mob, ever, because they don't accept your apology, and they're just doing it to, that's how they get the hooks in. Oh, he admitted it. If he didn't do it, if he's not guilty, if it isn't bad, why did he apologize?
Yeah, I think
that whole
that's
thing.
true.
Like I was laughing with Jericho on a stream the other day about when a celebrity dude like cheats on his wife or whatever, then he holds a press conference to apologize to me. Bro, why are you apologizing to me? You didn't do anything to me. Like, I don't think it's good what you did, but you do not owe me an apology. I didn't mean to. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, I feel like you didn't mean to. But again, this is none of my business.
That's for the wife. That's not for you.
I just don't like it. It's like it's none of our business.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
feels wrong. It feels voyeuristic to look in on someone's life. Because the truth is, like, we all have our dirt, man. We all have our things, our screw ups. We've all hurt people. I don't want to be going out there giving public statements every time I do anything or everything that I regret or something like that. Like, I need to just apologize to the person I did it to. I don't need to have a fucking press conference for what?
Maybe because these guys, their lives are public, but
It's undignified, right? You can just feel it's undignified. We shouldn't put them through that.
it is meant to shame them for
It
sure.
is. No one's really cares. No one's like, oh, I accept your apology. People snicker and laugh, and then the late night morons make jokes about it on TV. So what good comes from it? You know?
Yeah, and in regards to cancel culture, the mob seat says those people enjoy hurting other people. It gives them power.
Not no more, because we tell them that F off.
Right. Right. Well, you got a few minutes left. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Yes. So you guys all share the same problem. You are often at a loss of how to entertain yourself because there's a dearth of quality entertainment, action, adventure, and all that stuff. But I have a solution for you. If you go to bigmancomics.com, make me a full screen here, please. It's the head of those little examples of shapes. It's the head on the left.
You are.
Why is my iPad still up there?
If we take the iPad down, it's going to show the rest of it.
Okay, well then just leave it up then. I have a solution for you guys. Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, 116 pages of rip roaring action. It is as good or better than the original Indiana Jones and Star Wars, all that 80s action adventure entertainment you loved. No cussing, no gore, no sex, but yet intriguing for adults. Fully entertaining. It's just like Indiana Jones, the old one. Star Wars, the old one, where you could be 70 years old and love it and be thrilled by it, but you can hand it off to a 7-year-old and there's nothing inappropriate for them. This is how it should be. This is how it should be, guys. Imperium is coming soon. It didn't get here during the show, the box in the mail, but we'll probably have it tonight. We'll show it off of the show tomorrow. You guys are going to love that. We'll go over it tomorrow if it comes in. And, Unstoppable Tyrus, that was page 102 I was working on. Go to bigmancomics.com and get this today. Get it today. Make sure you're subscribed right now to this channel. Share this out. Hit the notification, all that so you know to come in here. And I have a mission for everyone watching this right now. Get people to watch this. Tell your friends. Take their phone from their hand and sub to this channel. But get your friends to watch this. Bring them in the chat. You guys can talk and have fun. I'm an open book. I'm completely honest. I don't know if I'm right about everything, but I will just tell you what I think. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I could be wrong, and I'm sure I'll be wrong from time to time, as rare as it is. But I will just be honest with you, and where else are you getting that, right? Follow me on X, Big Man Comics, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gabe and TikTok, Big Man Comics 1. And I'll see you guys every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to noon. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. all time Pacific. I do Double Impact. It's an improv comedy movie review show. This week's coming movie, a week from now, Weird Science. Kelly LeBron. She made a man out of me. I went from boy to man for myself. I've never been the same since I saw her in that movie. Never been the same. Oh, it was an innocent first 7 years of my life. And then I came across Kelly LeBron. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.